cowboys who traveled from Spain brought horses and cattle with them. The original cowboys were called vaqueros.
The main thing that we're talking about right now is how did they introduce the cowboy? Did the cowboy come from the Hispanics in Mexico? Yes, it did. But you also have to remember that the first cowboy came from Argentina. Argentina then was introduced here to Mexico, and Mexico flourished as a mecca, as a place for cowboys. Those vaqueros, as they used to call them. And the horses, remember, were brought in from Spain, and they brought in their own vaqueros, their own cowboys, to drive the cattle. And so these cowboys came up into this part of the country driving this cattle. And they discovered something. The cowboys from the Hispanic cowboys, they discovered that while driving the cattle, all these different plants that used to stick to you, like cactus and cholla and all that, and so it hurt a lot. So they had to figure a way to protect their legs from these plants, and so they invented, if you will, the chaps, which the cowboys now, Western cowboys were the Western style chaps. Well, this is where they came from the Hispanic cowboy. Also, another thing is the Hispanic cowboy contributed to the American cowboy is this, the hat. El sombrero. Remember that Mexicans wore those huge, big, round sombreros, and they wore them to take the sun away from their heads, to shade them. Because, out there with no buildings and no shade of any kind, they needed something to keep from getting sunstroke. So they had these huge hats. Now, you notice now that the Western hat has those large brims, wider than this. So that comes from the Mexican charro sombrero. And all these things, the spurs, the way of riding, the saddles, all came from the Spaniards who first came into this part of the country. You gotta remember that in those times, there was nothing else but the horse. The horse became the way people traveled, so it became very, very important. It became important to the American cowboy, and so they had to come up with a system of driving the cattle, and they got that also from the Hispanic vaquero.